I knew everything had shattered the instant our eyes met. The room buzzed with laughter, clinking glasses, and gentle music, the perfect backdrop for celebration. My company had just secured its biggest deal of the year, and my boss insisted on hosting a party. Across the room, Daniel, my husband, was chatting with one of my coworkers. He looked so proud, so content, the kind of man whose love radiated effortlessly. And then I made the mistake that changed everything. It wasn't deliberate. It wasn't even conscious. But it was still betrayal. When my boss, Robert, leaned in far too close and whispered something that made my skin crawl, I didn't move away quickly enough. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because I didn't know what else to do. His hand brushed the small of my back, and instead of stepping aside, I froze. Only for a heartbeat, but that was all it took. When I turned, Daniel was watching. The warmth in his smile vanished instantly. His glass caught the light as it tilted in his hand, and for a second, I thought he might drop it. Our eyes locked across the crowded room, and in that silent exchange, something fundamental between us shifted forever. The drive home was unbearable. Daniel's hands gripped the wheel, knuckles white, jaw tight. I tried to speak, but every word crumbled in my throat. "Daniel, please, it wasn't what it looked like." He said nothing. His gaze stayed fixed on the dark road ahead, headlights slicing through the night. "Say something," I whispered, voice breaking. When he finally spoke, his tone was calm but cold. "I saw enough, Claire." The days that followed were worse than I ever imagined. Daniel didn't yell, didn't accuse, didn't even ask questions. He simply withdrew. He started sleeping on the couch. The morning text stopped. Dinner became silent. The air between us thickened with everything neither of us could say. Every time I tried to explain, he looked at me with quiet devastation, disappointment carved deep in his expression. It would have been easier if he'd screamed, if he'd let his anger spill out. But Daniel wasn't that man. His pain was quieter, heavier, and infinitely harder to face. I replayed the moment over and over, wishing I'd moved, wishing I hadn't laughed. Robert had always been overly flirtatious, but I dismissed it as harmless arrogance. I never thought it would destroy the foundation of my marriage. 2 weeks later, Daniel finally broke the silence. We were in the kitchen. I was chopping vegetables, hands trembling, when he placed his coffee cup down with a soft thud. "Do you love him?" The knife nearly slipped from my fingers. "What?" "Daniel, no, it wasn't like that." "Then what was it?" he asked, his voice low but steady. "Because I've spent every night wondering if my whole life has been a lie. You let him touch you. You let him whisper in your ear. Like I wasn't even standing there, like I didn't exist." Tears blurred my vision. My throat tightened. "It was a mistake," I stammered. "Not what you think, Daniel, I swear." He looked at me for a long, heavy moment, his silence louder than any argument. Then he shook his head slowly. "Do you know what it felt like? Watching my wife laugh with another man like that? Seeing you lean into him, even for a second? Everyone saw it, Claire. Everyone. That broke me." I covered my face and sobbed. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." But the words were hollow. Because no matter what I said, one truth remained. I had betrayed his trust. For a while, I thought it was over. That he'd leave. I even practiced what I'd say when he packed his bags and walked out. I could almost hear the door closing for good. But Daniel surprised me. One night, instead of going to the couch, he came into our bedroom. He didn't lie beside me, didn't reach for me. He just sat at the edge of the bed. "I don't want to lose us," he said quietly. "But I can't forget what I saw. And I can't keep pretending everything's fine." My heart raced. "Then tell me what to do," I pleaded. "Tell me how to fix this." He looked at me, and for the first time since that night, I saw the man I married, broken, vulnerable, but still fighting for us. "Earn it back," he said simply. "Show me I matter more than your boss. Show me I'm the one you choose, every time." From that night on, things began to shift. Slowly. Painfully. I quit my job, the hardest decision of my life. I'd poured years into that career, but Robert's shadow poisoned everything it touched. Daniel never asked me to resign. He didn't even suggest it. But I knew I couldn't rebuild what I'd broken while still tied to where it began. I deleted Robert's number, blocked his emails, and turned all my focus toward us. It wasn't perfect. Some nights, Daniel couldn't even look at me without that memory flashing behind his eyes. Some mornings, he left early to avoid the silence. But there were fragile moments of hope. The way his fingers brushed mine when I handed him coffee, the softened tone when he said, "Good night." He was trying. And so was I. The turning point came months later. We were invited to another party, this time one of Daniel's friends. I almost refused. The thought of another crowded room made me sick with dread. But Daniel insisted. "We can't hide forever," he said. At the party, I stayed close to him, never letting go of his hand. When other men tried to make conversation, I made sure Daniel knew. He was my anchor. I laughed only at his jokes. I looked at him like he was the only person there. Then the music slowed. Daniel reached for me and asked me to dance. He held me close, his breath warm against my ear. "This," he whispered, "this is what I needed to see. That I'm still the one you choose." Tears welled in my eyes. I pressed my face into his shoulder. "I'll never stop choosing you, Daniel. Never again." It wasn't full forgiveness, not yet. But it was something close. A fragile bridge being rebuilt piece by piece. Looking back now, I know that mistake will never completely disappear. It will always be a scar, a reminder of how quickly trust can crumble. But I also know what Daniel gave me. He didn't leave when he had every reason to. He didn't destroy me with rage or silence. He gave me a chance to fight for us. Everyone saw me falter. Everyone saw me betray the man I loved. But what they didn't see, what only Daniel and I will ever truly understand, is what he did after. He chose to stay. He chose to fight. He chose to give us another chance, when I least deserved it. And that is something I will never forget.